I say Contax, you might think about certain celebrities. Kendall Jenner, Zendaya, or even Frank Ocean. Well, I'm not talking about any of those cameras. If you're like me, you're not going to spend $1,500 for a point and shoot. Well, not a film point and shoot, I mean. I can get you into the Contax family for a fifth of the price with an interchangeable lens, but you have to put the hype to the side and trust me. The Contax RTS II might not be the camera you want, but it's the camera you need. Today I'll be showing you some pictures from my trip to Boston and a few pictures from Jersey just so you can get an understanding of what this camera can put out. And by the end of this video, you'll know the ups and downs of this camera as well. Before we get into the camera and why I chose it over 100 other options, let's start off with my first day at Boston. Well, here's a representation of the first day overall. Quite sleepy, quite unaware. It was a bad photo day for me. It was honestly because I showed up and I didn't know what I wanted to shoot. But I got this great photo with some good duality between the two of them, and I really think it was strong. What stands out in this photo to me is, of course, the older man that was knocked out. When I tell you he was knocked out, I walked around the park for an hour, came back, and he was still in the spot. I even mistaked him being gone because there was a bench right next to him, and I looked to the left and he was still there. But the duality comes in with the very young girls to the left. What I think is rolling up weed. They look very young, but that is not my business. Just being more lively, being on the bench on the opposite side, there being three of them, one of him, and just completely two different attitudes. And I think that this is what makes street photography a little bit more special. Capturing moments like this where the composition isn't fantastic, but it's more the storytelling and what you captured that made the picture more beautiful. And then the two little birds on the ground and the one on the chair. I think there was just many little dynamics that brought this picture together. But like I said, it was a more difficult day because I think that I was just overthinking. Trying to find too strong of a photo, being a little nervous, and being in a new area all halted me for my shots. Going into day two, I got a lot more ease and everything was more airy and easy to do because this is why I came up here. So I have to make sure that I am taking the trip and its advantages altogether. One of the reasons I realized I should have felt far more comfortable is because I'm still using my 50mm lens. The reason that I got this Contax is because I wanted to try the Carl Zeiss lens. Everyone talks about glass and lenses being so important, and this is a name that is 100% carried across really generations and decades of time. So the Contax allowed me to hop into this family and try everything out. And when I don't feel like cutting out extra context, I still have the option to interchange my lenses, which also lend me to this body versus the other more famous T. And yes, G series does change lenses, but like we said, going back to that price point, it was a little difficult to go up to that point for a film camera. And another strange feature that I think was making me hesitate a bit, but I got very used to, was the external light meter, or at least a secondary button. I mean, the secondary button being on the front of the camera to do your light metering was interesting because it's usually a part of the shutter button. But because of this, I don't have to worry about taking up extra shots. And then it's also just a fun element to the camera that makes you think a little bit different, shoot a tiny bit differently, not necessarily when it comes to your concept and what you're doing, but understanding the pacing and what you need in order to take the picture properly. The only thing that can 100% put over my RTS when it comes to the T and G series is the weight. And honestly, walking around for these 2 days with the camera around my neck, it did hurt a little bit, but I think a lot of this could just be my neck strap not being wide enough. So I don't want to fully put that on the camera, but the framing of the T and G series is probably much lighter. So that's something to note as well. But waking up on day two with a completely different attitude allowed me to shoot more and made everything more of a fun experience. So I was just snapping away at this point. After an overpriced breakfast, I found myself walking around and I ran into Bova's bakery. The bakery had a painted window, pedestrians walking by, and then you could see some of their goods, decorations inside the store from outside. And I knew that this was very interesting to me, so I decided to take a few pictures at different angles, or at least different distances, because I wanted to see how I could cut out some of the story or bring it in. And my favorite had to be the closer up shot, to be honest, because you get to see the sign in all of its glory. You get to see the decoration to the top of the window. You get to see the little statue on the left side. There's a number of elements that bring it all together as one cohesive thing, but it makes it also feel lived in without it being 100% designed to be seen as that, if that makes sense, much like newer stores or chain restaurants or anything like that. As I continued to walk, I found myself by the Boston Waterboat Marina, and I love the buoys that were out in front and how they were showcased. There was something very similar to this in Maine, or at least they did it with locks maybe, and all the clashing colors and the navy signage being, you know, dark enough that it wasn't pulling from the buoys, but was also a part of everything that was going on. So here again, I chose the same method that I used with the bakery, taking a photo from farther back and then getting up closer so I could see the texture, the color, the age of everything that was going on. And again, trying to get diptychs, trying to make sure that there is a overall concept between the two photos, and feeling like genuinely you are punched in, or the viewer has walked up and taken a picture, because that's what I did. But it just makes it a little bit more fun, takes a bit more detail, or even choosing what I wanted to crop out versus others. There was an opening to the right, so I continued down there and I got two pictures of one man walking on the docks coming up from his boat, and then a little further down I took a picture of two resting chairs that were on a boat. Both of these shots I find very, very clean. They don't jump off the page to me, but I think what would have made it a little bit better was for the picture with the man, getting him correctly within his stride. It being his legs kind of coupled together, you can see that he is moving, but that full kick out of the foot would have made the picture just work a lot more. So I failed a little bit there, but the picture's all right. I didn't love my pictures from Boston, I'll be honest, but I decided to add in a few pictures from New Jersey so that you can see some of my more beloved photos that I took. In Jersey, I found this beautiful red house right by this grassy knoll. And then on top of that, it has a gray or silver fence at the bottom, cutting throughout the entire composition. And the reason why I love this picture is not only because of what I see in the composition and the contrasting color and everything that's going on. Even when I walked further to the left, this was more around graduation time. So it had the celebrations of such and such for 2025. And I didn't like that. But the fact that I could move far enough to the right that could be cut out completely was great, or a great addition to the story that you can't see, but I can. On the left side of the street, with another story here, as I was trying to take a picture of this white creamish house with the light shining through on the right hand side, illuminating the porch that also seemed to be basically all cream as well. There was a car sitting right in front of the composition. On the opposite side of the street, remember I'm using a 50mm, so therefore I can't stand but so close. And I said, oh, well, I guess this shot's gone. Luckily for me, he was parked in someone else's spot, or at least their driveway. He had to move up, that car had to get in. Now the shot is fully open for me to take. And that's where we get this wider shot, the more establishing shot. In the perfect world, that car at the edge is not there, but it's not that perfect. I'm lucky to even have this shot. Showing this interesting driveway that has an awning that is also cream. It's just all really interesting to me, even though it's very simple. And then getting a closer shot of the porch and what I think is the star of the show for both of these pictures, the light shining through. It's extremely simple, both very simple shots, but I think that the film, it's just beautiful, and I really enjoyed those. If you enjoyed these photos or just want to see more of my film photos, check out this video here. It's actually my Mamiya video, and you can hear some of my up and downs when it comes to that camera. It's my holy grail, but it's has a little bit of a learning curve, and in that video we talk about that. If you just want to see more photos, I have a lot of Nikon D700 videos where I think honestly a lot of my best photos have come from, and I'll toss you one video here just so you can get an idea of that. But thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, please remember to like the video. It truly helps a lot. And if you want to see more videos, subscribe too. So thank you once again. I'm out, y'all. Peace.